Well, hey, we're going to take a trip down that long tube that runs from saliva to sphincter, the digestive system. Just think of it as a lazy river ride, not a trip through a sewage system. So grab a blow-up floaty raft and enjoy the what and where of the digestive system as we overview its general anatomy. As for the what, it's helpful to remember that the digestive system, just like skin and lungs, interacts with the external environment. So all along our alimentary canal, the path from mouth to intestine, there's highly proliferative epithelial tissue, which we've represented by these fast-growing reeds along the riverbank. These regenerating cells help maintain a barrier between us and whatever we swallow. And epithelial cells aren't the only things defining the digestive tract. There's also smooth muscle, which rhythmically contracts in a process called peristalsis, just like these waves rhythmically undulating down the river. Peristalsis keeps food moving through the alimentary canal and keeps kids from choking when they swallow while hanging upside down on the monkey bars. Okay, enough preamble. I want to get to the relaxing. Let's hop in. As you probably know, the mouth is the digestive system's first stop. Food is ingested in the mouth, then the teeth and tongue begin to physically break it down, which is called mechanical digestion. At the same time, the enzymes in saliva begin chemical digestion. The result is a round, mushy ball of food and saliva called a bolus. We're starting way up in the mountains because the river's source represents the mouth. The waterfall represents the tongue, the line of rocks represents teeth, and all that spitty-looking foam represents saliva. And we're off to a perilous start. I did not sign up to become a human bolus. I think. Anyways, the bolus is swallowed and moves from the mouth to the throat, or pharynx, which we've represented with this pharaoh. Now watch out here. Don't want to head down the wrong path. The pharynx is for getting food from mouth to stomach. The larynx goes to the lungs. And it is not the happy sunny place you want to be relaxing on a summer day. So we've represented it with this layer, defended by this gaiter. This epigator represents the epiglottis, a cartilaginous flap behind the jaw that covers the larynx when we swallow to keep food out of our lungs. And I definitely want to avoid that epigator and stay on track toward the stomach pool. Most of the digestive system's organs lie in the peritoneal cavity. That's the space below the diaphragm and above the pelvis. The esophagus, a muscular tube, is how food gets from the pharynx to the organs within the peritoneal cavity. And luckily, we're back to our lazy river, with this straight tube-like section of the river. Notice the sphinx cat at the top and bottom of this section? They represent sphincters. The esophagus has a sphincter at the top and the bottom. The top one can be consciously controlled when swallowing, but the bottom one is called the cardiac sphincter and is purely autonomic. See that heart shape on the bottom kitty? And don't worry, what these hairless sphinxes lack in snuggly fluff, they make up for in skin folds? Anyways, the lower esophageal sphincter leads to the stomach, where we pick back up on that digestion thing again. The muscular stomach mechanically digests food through churning, chemically digests food with acids and enzymes, and protects itself with a thick mucus lining. Best to avoid the edges of this pool. The stomach has 4 regions. The fundus, where that fungus is growing up here. The body, where that swimmer's body can be seen in the middle. The antrum, by this statue of Anubis. And the pylorus, down by this lush papyrus. In the stomach, a bolus is quickly converted to chyme, a thick, acidic mixture of food and stomach secretions. Yum. See this sphinx cat hiding in the papyrus? It represents the pyloric sphincter. Chyme leaves the stomach via the pyloric sphincter, which you might also hear called the pyloric valve. From there, it enters the small intestine. This is where the lazy river ride gets twisty. Up ahead is the small intestine, the longest region of the digestive tract. The small intestine is lined with villi, small finger-like projections. Brush border cells along the villi have microvilli, tiny hair-like projections. We've represented these with these brushy border plants along the river. Both villi and microvilli increase the small intestine's surface area, which is put to good use. This is the major site of nutrient absorption. The small intestine starts with the duodenum, or, as the Brits call it, the duodenum. That's why it's represented here by this drying duo of denim. Who wears jeans to float along a river? The duodenum does a lot of chemical digestion. These digestive chemicals come from duodenal cells and accessory organs like the liver, gallbladder, and pancreas. Just like this laundry detergent, accessory organ secretions break down the oily, proteinous foods. You know, the ones that also stain our clothes. Let's see the specifics. Starting with the liver. In the digestive system, the liver's most important role is to produce bile, which we've represented with that bubbly green stuff that's about to overflow from the liver-shaped tub. Bile mechanically digests fats and is stored and concentrated in the gallbladder, a small pouch, or in this case, basket, by the liver. When signaled, the gallbladder sends bile through the bile duct and into the duodenum. And that pancreas-shaped sponge? It's part of the washing or digesting, too. The pancreas releases its exocrine secretions into the bile duct. Pancreatic juices include bicarbonate, which reduces the acidity of chyme, and pancreatic enzymes, which chemically digest all three types of food molecules: lipids, carbohydrates, and proteins. It's a very well-rounded digestive juice. Okay, finally picking up a little speed after all this digestion. Into the second and third regions of the small intestine. The jejunum and ileum. There's the famous jejunum jejems on the left. And this person eating an eel. Yum? Must have caught that out of the ileum. After all, this is where the majority of nutrient absorption happens, including water absorption. But don't worry, river riders, water levels are carefully monitored. The way forward moves through a river valve, which, this cat reminds us, is also a sphincter. The ileocecal valve connects the ileum to the cecum, first region of the large intestines. What goes through here is mostly waste, indigestible materials, and gut microbes. Now that sounds like a place I want to flow through. So here's the last organ of the digestive system, the large intestine, which, like the small intestine, has 3 regions. Its essential jobs include water reabsorption and elimination of the remaining food waste and bacteria. The first is the cecum, which looks like a great place to play hide and seekum. Shoot, some kids beat us to it. Better find another place to play. But it's not going to be the appendix, which is attached to the cecum. The appendix contains a lot of bacteria and microbes, which helps maintain the gut's microbiome. Hence the appendix of this bacteriology scroll near the kids playing hide and seekum. Microbe replenishing from the appendix is particularly important after bouts of diarrhea. Did I mention you shouldn't drink the water? After the cecum, it's time to head up, over, down, and around in the large intestine's second region, the colon. This river makes some pretty odd right angles around here. The colons bring waste around through 4 regions. The ascending colon goes up, the transverse colon goes across, the descending colon moves waste down, and the sigmoid colon ruins the rectangle with a squiggle across to the rectum. Watch out for that S-shaped sigmoid snake. Oof, see that boat? The rectum really rectum. The rectum stores waste before it leaves through the anus. The rectum has 2 sphincters, represented by these upper and lower sphinx cats. The internal anal sphincter is under autonomic control. The external anal sphincter is under somatic control. Thank goodness, to allow for conscious control of defecation. And yes, defecation is the final digestive system process, and something I strongly discourage until getting off the river. So, there you have it. In one end, out the other. Let's digest this information one more time before we break for lunch, shall we? The digestive organs are lined in highly regenerative epithelial cells, and food is pushed through the alimentary canal by peristalsis. Ingestion takes place in the mouth, where teeth, tongue, and salivary glands begin mechanical and chemical digestion and form a bolus. Once the bolus is swallowed, it moves into the pharynx and the epiglottis blocks food from entering the larynx. The esophagus moves the bolus through the upper esophageal sphincter and lower cardiac sphincter. Food enters the stomach, which contains the fundus, body, antrum, and pylorus. The stomach turns food into liquidy chyme that exits through the pyloric sphincter into the duodenum, the first region of the small intestine. The duodenum houses most chemical digestion, aided by secretions from accessory digestive organs, including the liver, gallbladder, and pancreas. Next, most nutrients and water are absorbed through the villi in the jejunum and ileum before waste continues through the ileocecal valve. The cecum, the first region of the large intestine, attaches to the appendix, which supports the gut's microbiome. Next, the large intestine condenses waste, reclaiming water and moving it through the ascending, transverse, descending, and sigmoid colons, finally storing it in the rectum before it passes through the internal and external anal sphincters and out the anus. Doesn't that lazy river just make you want to stuff your face? Who's up for a trip to the nearest food truck? Or chariot? Whatever. I'm hungry.